The cafe buzzed with the familiar sounds of lunchtime. Espresso machines hissed behind the counter, dishes clinked together, and soft jazz floated through the speakers. Business professionals hurried through meetings over coffee, college students laughed over shared desserts, and tourists snapped pictures of colorful pastries displayed behind the glass. Near the large front window sat a man who attracted almost no attention. His name was Ethan. Across from him sat his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, happily coloring in a small sketchbook. Every few seconds she would proudly hold up a picture for her father to admire. "Look, Daddy. I made the sun smile." Ethan smiled warmly despite the dark circles beneath his eyes. "It looks perfect, sweetheart." She giggled. "The clouds are smiling too." "I can see that." His smile was genuine, but exhaustion hid behind it. Raising Lily alone had never been easy. Every morning began before sunrise. He packed her school lunch, braided her hair as best he could, dropped her off at school, worked long construction shifts, picked her up afterward, cooked dinner, helped with homework, and somehow still found the energy to read bedtime stories. Money was always tight. His jeans had faded years ago. The sleeves of his grey hoodie had been stitched together twice. His boots showed cracks from countless workdays. Still, Lily never complained. To her, her father was the strongest man in the world. "Daddy." "Yes. When I grow up, I'm going to buy you a really big house." Ethan laughed softly. "You don't have to." "I know." She smiled. "But I want to." Those simple words made every difficult day worthwhile. The waitress approached carrying 2 glasses of water. "Are you ready to order?" Lily looked hopefully toward the dessert display. "Daddy." He already knew that look. "1 chocolate muffin," he said. "And 2 forks." The waitress smiled. "I'll bring it right over." As she walked away, Ethan quietly counted the money inside his wallet. Enough for the muffin. Enough for coffee. Enough for gas to get home. Barely. He slipped the worn wallet back into his pocket before Lily could notice. Children shouldn't carry adult worries. Not if a parent could help it. Lily continued drawing while Ethan watched people pass outside the cafe windows. Families walked together. Couples laughed. Office workers hurried across the street. For a brief moment, everything felt peaceful. Then the cafe doors burst open. 4 young men entered talking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Each wore expensive designer clothes, luxury sneakers, and shiny watches that caught the afternoon sunlight. Their confidence bordered on arrogance. One of them glanced around the cafe. No empty tables. Another pointed toward Ethan. "That guy's taking up a 4-seat table. With 1 kid." They laughed. Instead of asking politely, they walked directly toward Ethan. As the tallest man squeezed past Lily's chair, he bumped it with unnecessary force. The little girl gasped. Her box of crayons spilled across the floor. Bright colors rolled beneath nearby tables. "Oh no!" She quickly knelt to gather them. The young man barely looked down. Instead, he smirked. "Maybe keep your toys at home." His friends laughed loudly. Lily lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." Ethan calmly stood. His chair scraped softly across the floor. "You knocked over her crayons." The young man shrugged. "So? You should apologize." The smile disappeared from the bully's face. "Excuse me." "You heard me." Another member of the group chuckled. "This guy actually wants an apology." The tallest one stepped closer. "You serious?" Ethan never raised his voice. "My daughter did nothing wrong." One customer quietly whispered to another. "This isn't going to end well." The manager noticed the growing tension and hurried over. "Gentlemen, is everything all right?" Before Ethan could answer, one of the young men spoke first. "This guy thinks we're bullying his kid." "You knocked over her crayons," Ethan replied. The manager forced an awkward smile. "I'm sure it was just an accident." It wasn't, Lily whispered quietly. The cafe grew noticeably quieter. People stopped their conversations. Several customers discreetly pulled out their phones. The tallest bully leaned closer until only inches separated them. You know what your problem is. Ethan remained silent. You think people owe you respect. I think everyone deserves basic respect. The bully laughed. Not dressed like that. His friends joined in. Look at those boots. They've seen better decades. Probably can't even afford another coffee. One pointed toward Lily's sketchbook. Maybe instead of buying crayons, buy yourself some new clothes. Lily looked down, embarrassed. Ethan immediately noticed. He knelt beside her. Hey. She looked up. You keep coloring. But they are laughing at us. They are laughing because they don't know any better. She nodded slowly. Okay. He gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I'll handle it. As he stood again, the bullies continued mocking him. What are you going to do? Call someone. Cry about it. The tallest one stepped even closer. So what's your job? Ethan answered simply. I build things. The young man laughed. I own things. His friends erupted with laughter again. An elderly man sitting near the counter quietly observed Ethan. Something seemed strangely familiar. Not his face. Not his clothes. His posture. The way he balanced his weight evenly between both feet. His hands remained relaxed instead of clenched. His breathing never changed. The elderly man's expression slowly shifted. I've seen that before. He whispered it almost to himself. Years earlier, he had served as a police instructor. He had watched elite military personnel demonstrate defensive tactics. Only highly trained operators stood exactly like that under pressure. But why would a construction worker stand that way? Meanwhile, the bully reached forward and grabbed the front of Ethan's hoodie. What? You done talking? The cafe fell completely silent. Even the coffee machine seemed quieter. The waitress froze in place, still holding a tray. The manager nervously swallowed. Several customers instinctively stood. Lily looked frightened. Daddy. Ethan looked down at the hand gripping his hoodie. Then back into the young man's eyes. His expression changed. Not to anger. Not to fear. Simply, focus. The warmth disappeared from his face. His eyes became calm, sharp, and unreadable. The elderly man near the counter suddenly inhaled sharply. Oh. Now he understood. That wasn't the posture of someone looking for a fight. It was the posture of someone trained to survive one. The bully shoved Ethan once. Hard. Ethan didn't stumble. He barely moved at all. The young man smirked confidently. What? Too scared. Ethan spoke quietly. You should let go. The bully laughed. Or what? Around them, every customer watched in complete silence. None of them realized that in just a few seconds, the entire cafe was about to witness something they would never forget. The young man's grin widened as he tightened his grip on Ethan's hoodie. You should let go, Ethan repeated, his voice calm and steady. The bully laughed loudly enough for the entire cafe to hear. Or what? You think you're some kind of action hero? His three friends chuckled, certain the quiet single father would back down. Instead, Ethan took one slow breath. His eyes never left the man's face. The warmth that Lily knew so well disappeared, replaced by an expression so focused that even the air in the cafe seemed to change. The elderly man near the counter immediately recognized it. Oh no, he whispered. His trained. Before anyone could react, the bully shoved Ethan hard. In less than 2 seconds, everything changed. Ethan stepped slightly to the side. His left hand gently redirected the man's wrist while his right shoulder turned with effortless precision. The bully's own momentum carried him forward. A single controlled movement sent him harmlessly onto the cafe floor. His expensive sunglasses slid across the tiles. Silence. Nobody understood what they had just witnessed. There had been no wild punches. No shouting. No unnecessary violence. Just one smooth motion. The second young man roared in anger. "You touched my friend." He charged without thinking. Ethan pivoted. One precise step. A controlled elbow stopped the attack before it fully began. The second man lost his balance and stumbled into an empty chair, crashing to the ground. Gasps filled the room. The waitress nearly dropped her tray. The manager stood frozen. Several customers stared with open mouths. "What? Did you see that?" He barely moved. The remaining two bullies hesitated. Their confidence vanished. They had expected an easy victim. Instead, the quiet father standing before them looked completely relaxed. Ethan didn't raise his fists. He didn't threaten anyone. He simply stood between Lily and the men. "Take your friends," he said calmly. "And leave." For a moment, it seemed they might actually listen. Then the tallest bully scrambled to his feet, his face burning with embarrassment. "You think you embarrassed me?" He reached into his backpack and pulled out a heavy metal flashlight. Several customers screamed. "Watch out!" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Daddy!" The bully swung the flashlight with all his strength. The attack never landed. Ethan intercepted the arm before the flashlight came close. He rotated the wrist, redirected the force, and the flashlight clattered harmlessly across the floor. The attacker cried out in surprise rather than pain. Again. Less than 2 seconds. Again. No unnecessary force. Only perfect control. The elderly man slowly stood. "I knew it." Everyone turned toward him. "I spent 25 years training police officers." His voice shook with amazement. "I've only seen movements like that from elite military operators." The cafe became even quieter. One teenager whispered, "Military." Another customer nodded. "No ordinary soldier moves like that." The four young men exchanged nervous glances. For the first time since entering the cafe, they looked afraid. Just then, the cafe door opened. A tall man wearing a dark business suit stepped inside. He paused the instant he saw Ethan. His expression changed from curiosity to complete shock. Without hesitation, he walked straight toward him. Then, in front of everyone, he stood perfectly straight, raised his hand, and saluted. Sergeant Ethan Cross. The entire cafe stared. Even the bullies looked confused. The suited man smiled respectfully. "I never thought I'd see you again." Ethan sighed. "It's been a long time, Mason. You disappeared after your retirement. I wanted a quiet life." Mason looked toward Lily. "So this must be your daughter." Lily smiled shyly. "Hi." He smiled warmly. "You should know something." She tilted her head. "Your father once saved 12 people during a hostage rescue overseas." The cafe exploded with whispers. "What? 12 people? No way." Ethan looked uncomfortable. "That was a long time ago." Mason ignored him. He received medals he never talks about. He refused interviews. He turned down promotions. When his service ended, he simply walked away. One customer asked, "What unit was he in?" Mason hesitated for a second before answering quietly. "Delta Force." Every face in the cafe changed. The elderly police instructor slowly nodded. "I knew it. I've only seen that level of control once before." The four bullies suddenly looked pale. The tallest one swallowed hard. You're Delta Force." Ethan answered softly. "I was. But today." He looked at Lily. "I'm just her dad." Those words hit the room harder than any punch. Lily ran over and hugged him tightly. "I knew you were my hero." Ethan smiled. You've always been mine too. The cafe erupted into applause. Customers who had watched silently now stood on their feet. Some clapped. Others wiped tears from their eyes. The waitress returned carrying the chocolate muffin. She placed it on the table. No charge. Ethan shook his head. I can pay. She smiled. I know. But today, please let us thank you. One by one, customers began paying for Ethan and Lily's meal. Someone covered their groceries. Another quietly handed the manager money for future visits. The manager smiled. As long as this cafe is open, you and your daughter will always have a table here. The four young men stood speechless. The tallest finally stepped forward. I'm sorry. The cafe became quiet again. He looked at Lily first. I'm sorry for scaring you. Then he faced Ethan. And I'm sorry for judging you. Ethan studied him for a moment before extending his hand. Being strong isn't about winning fights. It's about knowing when one isn't necessary. The young man shook his hand. I understand. Good. Because everyone deserves a second chance. As Ethan and Lily prepared to leave, she slipped her tiny hand into his. Daddy. Yes. Were you really one of the best soldiers? He smiled gently. That was a long time ago. What are you now? He looked down at her with the same warm smile he had worn before the trouble began. I'm exactly what I've always wanted to be. And what's that? He squeezed her little hand. Your dad. They walked out of the cafe together into the afternoon sunshine. Behind them, conversations resumed, but nobody spoke about the fight. Instead, they talked about the quiet father who never bragged, never lost his temper, and used extraordinary skill only to protect his child. Everyone who witnessed those 2 unforgettable seconds left with the same lesson. Never judge someone's strength by their clothes, their job, or the silence they carry. The strongest people are often the ones who have nothing to prove, except their love for the people they protect.